It's late at night. I My throat hurts. I'm kind of confused as to what's going on. No better time to start this. So I live in my mind fortress, right? Thinking about things as I usually do. And I like writing. It's a fun hobby of mine. I'm gonna take a sip of water real quick. Good stuff. And as a writer, I understand. Sounds so pretentious. As someone who likes writing, I understand that hey, you gotta read things too in order to really know what works for writing. Because if you like reading something, it's probably good, no? So I go and I do my due diligence. Though I refuse to spend money, so I just see what I can dredge up for free online. Indie writing, I suppose. One of the most common things I've been finding recently, I say recently, but really for the past couple of years or something like that, is the no, it's a full genre now, I think, is the genre of lit RPGs, or literary role-playing game. It's not a bad idea, I don't think, and I'm gonna be negative. It's not a bad idea, I don't think, to have your magic system act as basically a role-playing game where you level as you get better, where you have stats that you can visually see. It is probably not bad. And I'm gonna keep hedging my claims by saying probably and things like that. The problem I keep seeing, uh, and I forgot what I was gonna say, so I'm just gonna explain the RPGs a little bit more. So it's like a role-playing game, but in book or other media form. It could be like an anime or something along those lines. I've seen a few like that. I think Solo Leveling is one of them. I have never seen Solo Leveling. I have never read I think it's pronounced manhwa. I don't know, the Korean, I think, version of a manga. And it's basically just an applied form of your magic system. Like whatever Brandon Sanderson's got going on in his books, I don't know, I've never read them. Or like whatever basic magic, like take the Avatar: The Last Airbender, for example. They do martial arts, and out comes cool magic where you can shoot fire or move rocks and stuff. Instead of that, you get basically a video game. You kill things, get XP, put your XP into points, get perks, level up, things like that. The concept is very basic, even if you've never played a game. And if you haven't played a game, bam, your barrier for entry is much lower now. The thing is, I think it doesn't work super well, and I'm really tired of seeing them. Because it's very hard, in my opinion anyway, I don't know if this is the universal truth, it's very hard, in my opinion, to rationalize. I guess that's not the right word. To visualize, that's better, what each number means in reference to each other. It's easier to do that in the game itself than it is when you're reading it, right? Although it is easier when you're reading to go check and make comparisons, the comparisons kind of fall flat. Uh, I've watched it so long ago, I don't remember any of the points he made. Terrible writing advice, like, made this analogy where he like made a large number, right? Whatever strength stat, and then said, "Oh, that sounds very impressive." No, well, it's the stat of a snail, so now I don't know what's going on, or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm very tired, and I think that's pretty true. Yeah, that's true. Of input clip of I think Trainwreck's fucking like that one clip where it doesn't mean anything. Sure, you can grasp strength stat and understand that's how strong you are, how much you can lift, how hard you can punch, but the number is meaningless. Like, compare Dungeons and Dragons to Fallout, because those are two things I know. Dungeons and Dragons, the highest stat outside of, magical items and abilities fiddling with it, is the highest number is 20, the lowest number is a 1. Fallout, the lowest number is a 1, and the highest number is 10. It's cut in half, you could wager. Uh, and you could be thinking, oh, well, high number 10, high number 20, Fallout character weaker, D&D character stronger. Probably not, in all honesty. Probably not. If I remember correctly, I don't remember right now. I was about to do the math of how much you can push, pull, and drag and lift. But the point I'm trying to make is you can get the stat, strength, and give it a number, but the number lacks context, which is hard for, at least it was hard for me as the reader, to really wrap my head around what that means. Because that was kind of a bullshit analogy I pulled out of nowhere, but it's kind of stuff I read. When I do give these little RPGs a try, I genuinely give them a try. I don't get too far in with them. Another one of my dislikes is, well, I guess this is just an issue with a bunch of, not even just a specifically lit RPG thing, but I see it in a lot of lit RPGs. It's sudden shooting pain in my ribs. Is the issue of like harems, harem animes, right? Everybody loves those, except most people don't like the idea of a harem, and it bogs down the story. That's a completely separate side. I'm gonna go on so many tangents during this. Uh, let's go on something that does matter with lit RPGs. Main character strength. A thing with most books or stories where someone goes on a harrowing journey or overcomes some sort of challenge is you must be or get stronger, right? It's a typical idea of they start off not strong enough to complete their task, and throughout the course of the story, either throughout the late middle of it or at the end, they are strong enough to overcome whatever is ailing them. Took a sip of water. With lit RPGs, this is a bit of a meta thing, but also kind of not. When you can visually see yourself getting stronger, why don't the characters just grind out levels for weeks on weeks on weeks? Because that's what we do when we play, or I guess that's too strong of a term. That's what I do when I play RPGs. Not D&D though, because I use Milestone. That's why everybody uses Milestone, because of the issue of like the haha funny joke of, hey, if we use XP, you're just gonna kill everything, so let's do milestones and not encourage that. And I guess you could technically just give a bunch of XP for completing quests, but then you're just doing milestone again, so just cut out the middleman and do milestone. That makes no sense if you don't play D&D or just don't know what those terms are. Anyway, takes another sip of water. When you can literally see yourself get stronger, faster, smarter, healthier, with just menial tasks, why don't you? Why don't these characters just spend months of their life punching slimes into raw XP that they will then eat to boost their intelligence or whatever, to cast harder spells? And of course, you might be thinking, oh, well, that's the answer's obvious because that's boring for the story. Well, yeah, it is. Which now the conventions of having to tell an interesting story clash against your magic system. So what should change, the story or the magic system? The magic system, no, because you don't want to make a story boring. Nobody wants to read that. Nobody wants to write that. But, well, literally, why wouldn't they? And suddenly have a glaring plot hole to address. And then you gotta go through and you gotta fiddle with a bunch of stuff to make it make sense and whatever. Or you could just go through the route of why don't they not or you could just go through the route of what they improve by is random, because that's another thing I see a lot. The gotcha system. First of all, gotcha games are not games, so that's a separate discussion. The gotcha system, as I've seen in lit RPGs very often, is, to describe it simply, you get your XP or equivalent resource for defeating monsters and completing quests. You then stockpile it, and then pull the lever on a slot machine to have it spit out something for you that could be cool. I've seen books do this with perk systems, with items in general. I think one even did it with companions. And sometimes it's just the general put XP here, we give X item, or sometimes it's the put amount of XP here to get common item, amount of XP here to get rare, and so on and so forth. You see that in some RPGs too. I think mostly JRPGs. I wouldn't know. I don't spend money on things, so I don't play games that often. Uh, but first of all, if you're doing that in your lit RPG, I think that feels very unearned and is not fun to read or write. Uh, Another thing, it's kind of not a gotcha system because you're writing a book. Unless you've literally wrote down a table of these things that you will then actually roll manually and then give your characters whatever. But that doesn't sit right with me, both as the reader and the writer. I'm sure some people are fine with it. Hell, maybe even most people are fine with it. I just think that is lame. Because that takes away agency, right? You know, I mean, maybe it gives it, because I do see that done sometimes too. Is like, oh, haha, I have rolled on the gotcha system. I have gotten the bad thing. Now, time to make the bad thing work through a lot of trial and effort, which is fun. We love seeing an unorthodox build come together. But you kind of get the sore point of like, well, this feels pointless in a way. Sure, it shows off your character's intelligent and willing to think things through, and that's fun character traits that you can play on later. But also, it just like you're still writing it, so you still I don't I'm finding it hard to like explain this aspect. You're writing it, so you knew that loophole going in. So was there even really the issue of haha I got the bad thing, TM? I don't think so. If you know what I'm getting at. The same way, oh boy, they're rolling on the gotcha. I sure do hope they get something good, knowing that it's a story and it's pre-written out by a conscious person who made the conscious choice and cuts out the random aspect of it. It's like point buy versus rolling for stats in D&D, I guess. I prefer rolling for stats because that's fun, even though I know point buy is objectively better. I'm pretty sure anyway. Or it's more consistent, rather. But like there's something to be gained from the random aspect and there's something to be lost from the random aspect depending on the medium, and I don't think the random aspect works in the written. There's a reason D&D's collaborative, because otherwise you'd just be rolling dice and taking notes on something you made up in your own head, and that'd be kind of sad. That being said, I have played a bunch of solo RPGs. Anyway, I'm getting off topic once more. I don't like the gotcha system as a solution for the issues in the lit RPG magic system, for the reasons I have already explained. But also just, it feels wrong in my mind for that to just be how the story works. Because then you still run into the issue of why don't they just grind for XP to just keep pulling the slot machine, keep pulling the lever. Remember, kids, never stop gambling is a 50% gambler's crit before they hit the big or whatever. Think of that diamond picture, you know, the one with the dirt and the guys mining. Think of that diamond picture. Stockpile the XP, stockpile the XP, stockpile the XP. Buy, 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 buy. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And you'll eventually get something good, right? It still doesn't solve that problem. Or at least not really. Because then, why don't the characters just keep pulling it until they get the sword of flesh rending or whatever, or adamantine plate or something along those lines, to be untouchable, kill everything in a swipe? Why wouldn't they? Because you know every time that X weak monster is X amount of XP. I probably should have said Y. And by killing X amount of monsters, you get Y amount of slot machines pulls, right? So why wouldn't they just punch slimes until they're XP and I can just roll for whatever I want? Why wouldn't they just keep planting crops if that gives them some XP or something? And this is a side note. Um, this is like a me thing, I think. I don't know. the typical shonen anime, haha, physical comedy of you fool, you have done something ridiculous or pervy or whatever, and I slap you, and it's we all laugh. First of all, it's tired now, it's lost its punch, punch. But that joke feels weirder when you can see them losing health, because first of all, you still do get the haha, you lost health. And the immediate second thought I always have is, okay, so this amount of joke slaps kills someone. Well, that's kind of fucked up, like in a weird cosmic sort of way. Like you can't just give your bro like a fist bump to the shoulder, like, hey, yeah, good job out there, champ, punch him on the shoulder, because that just kills people. That would actually just kill someone. Someone had to have died like that. Like, oh, they just finished defeating the ice dragon on the top of the mountain. Oh man, we sure got out of that one. Slaps you hardly on the back, does enough damage to kill you, drops dead. Right? Like, fuck, how do I explain this? Uh, but being able to see your own health, on one hand, it's great for tension. Because now I have a visual gauge of how close I am to death. On the other hand, the thing I just said, where, like, now you have to think about, oh, how much damage does everything do? How many times can I stub my toe before I die? If I stub my toe in the middle of a battle, I'm at objective disadvantage as opposed to if I hadn't done that. Sure, you could argue that's true in real life, because now you're like, oh, I stubbed my toe, I'm distracted a little bit. But in this case, it's more extreme. If you understand what I'm trying to say through all this weird smoke and mirrors. I had a second thought that I was lining up and I immediately forgot by trying to pull the smoke and mirrors analogy. I remembered immediately. So, this is another side note, but it just shows what stuff I like reading. You lose a lot of the flowery wordage you can use. Man, I sound so pretentious. You lose a lot of the flowery wordage and verbiage you can use by just having it be a flat number, because there's something to be gained from, this sounds weird, describing the pain your character's in. If they take a gunshot to the chest, saying they lose 70 health is a lot different than, like, describing the pain spiderwebbing across their ribs and the blood seeping into their lungs. If you see what I'm getting at, which is weird because I just mentioned that losing health is great for tension, and so is the fun wordage. You can do both, but I think seeing the number go down kind of undermines the fun, like, little tale you can spin very quickly. I write fan fiction. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm currently writing a Darkest Dungeon fan fiction. If you know Darkest Dungeon, you know heart attacks are kind of like I guess a selling point of the game. Well, in DD2, it's also meltdowns. I'm a big fan of Darkest Dungeon 2. I believe it is a worthy successor. That is also another conversation. Anyway, if you know Darkest Dungeon, you know heart attacks are a part of it. You get stressed and things like that. You freak out. You get, like, abusive towards your party members. It's all great fun, or you can rather. I had the luxury, air quotes, because I'm still in control of the story, of being able to write one of the characters in the situation where they had a heart attack. I like to think I did it justice. Probably didn't. Let's be real, but that's a side note. And it was fun to write, like, from their perspective. Oh fuck, my heart's giving out. And then from there on, blurred vision, ringing in the ears, things like that. I'm also not writing a LitRPG, so this is a bit of a stretch, but if I had just written, like in the game, your HP drops to zero from, I don't know, like 43 or something. Is that, how much health can, I think that's like max leper health? No, max leper health is in like the 60s, whatever. Or like, oh yeah, my health went from 43 to zero. Uh, even if I still did oh wow, it spiked. Even if I still did the whole describing the blurred vision, ringing ears, I feel like that would undercut a lot of the tension of that scene, of sheer unadulterated panic that the character might have felt in that moment. and I wouldn't have been wrong in that moment. Well, I guess I would have because I've never at until that point actually used like terms of X amount of like 173 out of 200 stress or like 43 out of 60 health. But I wouldn't have been too wrong if I had described it in a way like that. Like how they how some people do in D&D. If you if you know, you know. No, how sometimes people in D&D like DMs will be like, "Oh yeah, someone's like, "Oh, how hurt are you?" Because they want to cast like a healing word. The DM goes, "Ah, don't say how much health you're actually missing. That's metagaming." And so your friend, the smartass he is, will always go, out of 14 HP, I'm about 3." And we all have a good laugh. And then you go, fuck you, yeah. And someone gets like a bag of chips or something. Anyway, like I wouldn't have been too wrong for doing something like that, but I feel like what I did instead was way more interesting. And I I know that like, hey, not every little RPG needs your health as a visual stat, but most do is the thing. I'm like kind of tropes are a general approximation of things as opposed to what every single story will be verbatim. And I feel like that's a trope at this point with the lit RPG genre, and I do think it's a genre now. What's another thing I don't like? Non-human main characters. I'm appreciative of non-human main characters. We can get some fun shit going on here, right? You can get completely alien perspectives on things, even if it's just a mindless beast. Like, like that's a cool one shot someone could write and throw out there. Like from my OC Spec Evil project. What is the life of this creature? Like Kappa, World of Turtles on YouTube is doing that. I think that's really fun. It's like it's going through it in the perspective of this huge turtle, like how it would go from place to place, so the things it would see, how it would interact with that. That's fun. And so like little RPGs where you're not human, that's cool. I like that. Be a mimic, yeah, okay. Be a slime, okay. Be a dungeon, huh? Be a box, okay. Where are we gonna be a sword? Okay, that's kind of cool. You're like a sentient magic weapon, and then a bunch of shit like that. I have never read, if there is one where you're a sentient magic weapon. I'll give it a try, though I don't have high hopes even going in. With the thing with the non-human, because there's one of two ways they do it, right? Isekai, which I don't think isekais are inherently bad, which I'll probably touch on later, or uh, or they just say, yeah, it was born as a monster, etc. My issue with the non-human main character is I don't think you can do it for a full story and have it be still interesting throughout the whole story. Because at a certain point, reading like a spider eat a captured butterfly for the seventh time is it loses its luster. So eventually it'll have to start thinking and acting, behaving kind of like human, or at least a proto-human. And suddenly the point of, oh, my non-human main character is lost its point, sadly. And even before that, I mean, there's not much you can like. I do like the idea. There's not much you can do with it. You can't do much as a dungeon. Although I do like that little subgenre in concept. At least I keep trying to read a few, and I bounce quickly. I see the genre of I am a dungeon or X location, just like typical like RPG. Go here, kill things, collect loot. And it's like the idea of, oh yeah, the more adventurers come in here, the more X things die in here, or the more adventurers make it to the end and have like a fun challenge. The more I grow, the more I expand, the more influence I have, and can make extra rooms and summon extra monsters and stuff, and make more traps and have better loot to summon more adventurers to my location. The feed and grow, right? Style story or whatever, if that even is a style. It's alluring, it's enticing, it's fun, but unless there's an interactive aspect, it's kind of fucking boring to just read someone else have the fun of those games. If I was playing, I'm gonna keep referencing D&D because it's an RPG, right? It's tabletop RPG, lit RPG. It's both RPGs in a different medium. If I was playing D&D with some of my boys, with my group, and we had the idea of, hey, I'm gonna start you guys off with a keep, and it will be your base of operations, and the more explorations and expeditions you go on, the bigger it can be, and your goal is to rebuild the Adventurers Guild. I think I'd have a lot of fun. Oh, I peaked again. I'm just watching my mic spectrograph, or that's called, like bounce up and down. I think I'd have a lot of fun playing a campaign or a multi-shot like that because I get a say into how this holy location of mine gets to grow. I would immediately go for a Chapel because I fucking love playing Paladins or Celestial Warlocks. The best Warlock Pact. I just wish it did more things that weren't just healing. It'd be so interesting if it just was like, whatever, another time, another time. I would have a lot of fun doing that. Being able to, with people in or out of character, create the ultimate refuge, the ultimate sanctuary, the ultimate impregnable fortification. My own Fort Knox that I can look upon and be proud with my friends. If I was listening to a D&D podcast where the players did that, I would be so much less invested. In fact, I think I would even skip until they were finished planning to see what the finished plan was, and then continue with listening to the exploration bits. Because as the viewer, as the reader, it is not fun to look at deliberation that I have no say in. Now, sure, the writer can implement a choose your own adventure style narrative, which I fucking love choose your own adventure stuff. That needs to come back as a whole thing. They can do it on whatever, like space battles or whatever. I think that has some sort of audience interaction. I think that's what it's called. You know the place I'm talking about probably. Or even if it's just like an AO3 post up somewhere and there's like in the comments say what you want and I'll tally it up or something like that. That would be so fun because you get to be a part of seeing this grow in the way you want it to grow. If I don't, hell, if the author did have that, but I came a few months late, I would be skimming it until I caught up, and then maybe I would participate. But you see what I'm trying to say about that little subgenre? It's a lot more interesting to do than it is to read. I love charting things out. I love making maps for my D&D campaign. I lied. It's my least favorite part about DMing. Uh, I like making the monster stats more than I like making the maps. But it is not as interesting to read about than it is to write about. And let's be real here. As fun as writing is, it is not even half of the interaction. Because more, I mean, I guess it is literally half of the interaction, but you are outnumbered. You will have more readers than you will have writers. It's just the nature of things, probably. So I can't even say, hey, why don't you all go do that? I mean, I guess you can all go do that, but like putting it up, suddenly a bunch of stuff you won't have fun reading, and a bunch of things that I wouldn't be able to get because each story has its own unique, like, I forgot the word. I'm losing it. Each story has its own like stats, right? Each strength score will be different story to story. Each dex score will be different story to story. Even goblins will not have a definite like depiction. Goblin Slayer is an anime I have never seen, however I have been told that it treats goblins as a actual threat. And then in D&D, goblins are not an actual threat unless you are clever, because you should never be able to just charge into a goblin encampment and they all just swarm you. That's not what goblins do. Goblins make traps. However, goblins make traps. Same with kobolds. God, I love making traps. Um, it's just so fun to do. In such an asshole. Um, so like from lit RPG, from dungeon lit RPG to dungeon lit RPG, I won't get it. I will have to completely forget what last story said and understand what this story says a goblin's threat is. Sometimes a goblin's really fucking strong because a goblin is very clever and makes like hidden footholds that activate a swinging rope log to like crush the skull of a passerby. And other times, a goblin's a little idiot creature running around on all fours, biting people's ankles that you can just stomp the head of. I peeked. Not literally my fucking mic. Jesus. This is probably better. Uh, so that's another thing. The world building, I guess you could call it. Well, yeah, let's just move on. The world building then. Story. The world building from story to story is tenuous at best in the parts that matter. We all know your typical fantasy setting, your European medieval setting with magic and dragons. You know what I'm saying? It's the elves live in the forests, and the dwarves in the mountains. The humans live everywhere, and the orcs live over in the blasted wastes. Beneath the earth lies the dark elves, the dark dwarves, things of that shit, right? And the halflings are over there in the where do they in the hills, living in their little burrows, happily alone. You know the typical Tolkien stuff. I've never read or watched Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, but I still get vaguely how the races interact with each other. Probably more so than fans. Did you know? Fun fact: the dwarf and elf hatred is a recent thing, and for most of that universe's world, they were very close allies. My favorite quote I keep saying to myself, well, first of all, elf hate is funny. Always hate on those. We must maintain the agenda at all costs to hate on elves, dwarf maxing to the extreme. But also, the Lord of Stone knew that an alloy of two is stronger than an ore of one, and that is why he made elves and dwarves different. Cooperation between species should be more often in stories. That's another fucking side topic. Back to what I was saying. A lot of these LitRPGs, I don't know if it's because it's the author's first run go about, or because it's just, hey, I need a backdrop for my story, I'll slap this in, is your generic fucking fantasy. Is your generic humans, elves, dwarves, orcs. I like human elves, dwarves, orcs. I play D&D. I play humans and dwarves. I really don't play any of the other races. I tried lizard folk once, I think. I thought it was fun, but I just dwarves, man, dwarves. And variant human, it's like a free feat is too strong. More fucking D&D talk. My throat is giving out on me. I have a bottle of water. I am going to pause this and come back. I am back to the dismay of many. For you, like no time will have passed outside of that failed. I unpaused and my headphones are connected. For you, no time will have passed practically. For me, I got up and grabbed water. I'm taking a sip right now. Cold water in the early morning. It's like fucking 12, almost 1 here. My throat is so sore. I remember vaguely where I was. I was talking about like the world building. So I like the dwarves, elves, humans, orcs, quad, not trifecta, fucking quadfecta. Is that a word? I like it. It works. I like it less when just about every story does that. And if they don't do that, they do like fucking fake Japanese setting. They always have Oni and fucking Kitsune in it. I'm sick of fucking fox girls, dude. Get better waifus, man. You know, you should get dwarves. And those dwarven women, they better have fucking beards, right? I am proudly on the stance of dwarven women have beards. Both kinds. Wink. Sip of water. And that joke sucked. I am really sick of seeing the one stock fantasy setting in everything. Not even just LitRPGs. This extends to the wider. I'm waving my arms. Wider, I guess, indie writing sphere. I try to move away from it myself. Didn't exactly work out super well. When I played D&D, that is. My writing stuff is usually just an idea I like that I let run rampant. Uh, Fucking Darkest Dungeon, man. Uh, but I I'm sick of seeing the typical like fantasy setting, and maybe they added the demons as well. Oh, and maybe we should make the church evil. Evil church is no longer the subversion of the trope. It is not the trope. To subvert the trope, have the church be good. And I don't just say that because I'm Catholic. I say that because I'm actually just sick of seeing, but the devils are good, actually. What, didn't the Devil May Cry thing they're releasing do that? Man, that sucks. Was it Devil May Cry? Oh, whatever. I don't care about that series. I got distracted again. Um, I'm losing my train of thought. Well, fogged up. Pheromones, they call it. That's a reference. Anyway, fuck is this in? Right. Uh, there's so much more you can do with your world building than just be typical fantasy. Especially if you're isekaiing something, but we'll get into that hot button topic later. Uh, it is very tiring. I think a lot of readers agree. I think writers agree. They want more unique settings, or at least I hope they do. That we're kind of sick of seeing the Dwarven Stronghold, the Elven Enclave, the Orcish tribes, the human, the well, dysphoric humans. Um, that I do like. We need more dysphoric communities. Is that how you say that? Dysphoric, whatever. The spread around. They travel a lot. Mercantile. You get what I'm trying to say? Like ocean ports had a lot of diversity in them because of sailors and shit that would eventually just settle down. Uh, that was an interesting period of time. I didn't live through it, obviously. Neither did you. You were too young. Unless you're a fucking vampire. God, I hate vampires. My throat is killing me. I need to wrap this up. Um, Fuck it, I'm losing my train of thought on that topic, but you get what I'm trying to say. I want more unique settings. I want more unique fantasy settings because I'm not a big fan of cyberpunk. It's not my genre, so I don't read it. Uh, but I keep wanting to read fantasy, and all I find is fucking LitRPGs. And all I find when I read fantasy is the same fucking Tolkien setting. What's this fucking Hobbit setting? That's what I just call it right now, Hobbit setting. Ugh. And then you get it in uninteresting ways, overpowered main characters. Back to the power issue with lit RPGs. We're going to bounce around a lot. Back to the power issue with lit RPGs. It's hard to have your character not be super fucking strong. Kind of in general with anything you write. And then if you're conscious of it, it's kind of hard to then not have your character be super fucking weak with everything that happens. You want your character to struggle. You want them to succeed as well. You don't want too much of either. Or maybe you do want like a good chunk of one and a little bit of the other if you want like an underdog story or like a, oh, I fell from heights and rose to them once more story. Those are fun. So are underdog stories, but come on, those are played out. Not that that's bad. Um, Not that having the typical fantasy setting is bad, though. Again, it's played out, so you don't gain points, but you don't lose any either. So it's a lateral move. I'm losing my train of thought. Right, and here's the biggest damning issue with that generic Hobbit setting. Why is it like that? This is a world, presumably, sometimes it's just the main character can do it, but presumably the world at large just gets stronger by killing shit. Now, I will never advocate for genocide in real life. This sounds so bad. But it is an interesting thing in a story. The ideas behind it, the rationalizing of it. Don't go into the actions, that's too far. The Avatar reboot, Avatar Last Airbender reboot, literally depicted the genocide of the air nomads, and it gained nothing for it outside of wasting budget and making me really uncomfortable. That was really weird because they, they didn't treat it with respect, man. They had it be another set piece fight as opposed to the actually like horrifying act. Whatever. In a story of genocide, oh, peeking. Um, in a story of genocide is interesting. The motives behind, the mindset you have to be part of it, rationalizing of it. Does the community know? If they know, why are they behind it? If they don't, if they aren't behind it, very obviously we know why they're not behind it because they have basic fucking empathy. How are they treated if they're not with it or against it? Things like that. In a world where you get power from killing shit, militarizing heavily You can't avoid that, right? So, in all honesty, why wouldn't the army with the strongest warriors steamroll everything? Doesn't even have to be an outright genocide. Please don't make it an outright genocide. I'm not advocating. Why isn't it like they don't have? Why don't they? Why don't the elves? No, fuck elves. Why don't the dwarves have the elf? I'm peeking so much. I'm very passionate about this. Apparently, why don't the dwarves have the elves as a puppet state? Why don't the dwarves, who spend all their that does actually make sense, who spend all their day mining through tough materials, forging these materials into hard, thick, like armor, swords, shit like that. Your typical dwarven shit. That builds some muscle. That builds some XP. That builds your levels. Why don't they use their overwhelming force to impose their will upon the elves and have them as a sort of puppet state? Because if we're doing the typical Hobbit setting, we're doing the typical, fucking knife ears, leaf lovers. I was going to say something else. Uh, Not a real Slayer, just thought it would be funny, but I was like, maybe you should think twice about that. Why wouldn't they do that to them? Like, genuinely. Because it's a whole different world. Not, oh, different world. Yay, racism. A little bit. Racism is good for world building. Because, like, you think, okay, I can't cut myself off and not sound bad. So think about it this way. I thought about this while playing fucking Disco Elysium with some boys. Think about it this way. I'm making a world. I want to add conflict. Let's say part of it is refugees are coming in. Hmm, I like the idea of a disease. It is not from the refugees, however, the people from the land that the refugees are going to would probably use that against them. A disease is rampant, tensions are high, need a scapegoat, marginalized community. A thing that happens all too often in real life. Be fucking aware, people. But doesn't that make for an interesting piece for a story? In fact, I liked that idea so much, it happened in my D&D world. And you know what it did? It made an interesting little piece that we came back to. Some of my characters are kind of buddy-buddy with the dwarves that had to flee their home and go over to the main capital of this continent. They're treated poorly because of this issue, right? And the players saw firsthand in that. They did what they could to help. They got outside resources to come and assist. As such, they now have allies. By having your characters be proactive on this horrible situation, I'm breaking away from think like a racist, but don't actually have that be the genuine reason. Have it like right, you know what I'm saying? Like the dwarves weren't the issue with the disease. The disease was a separate thing. They just had them as a scapegoat. It's not actually like racist world building. Um, I completely forgot. So things would change drastically if the world worked on I punch something hard and gets better at reading. Take that into consideration when doing world building. And in fact, just world build is in general is a hobby. I do it sometimes too. Not even just for my D&D games, not even for the shit I write. Sometimes just I got a thing in the background. I like this idea. Write it down. Porky pylons. I should edit that out. I want to write that first. You can world build as a hobby. You don't have to put it up anywhere. If you want to just like make a fun world where something happens, right? Like speculative Evo. Dude, Spec Evo is so fun. Um, but if you want to do that, just do that. If you want to have like a fucking Pacific Rim world, like people in big robots punch kaiju's, and there's different like robots, like mech suits, like stylized and patterns and shit. Different kinds of kaiju with different classifications. You can just do that in free time. Get a notebook, start writing shit down. Get a fucking Google Doc. It's easy as shit, and it's fun too. It's a nice proactive hobby. Not proactive. Nice constructive. That's the word. Constructive hobby you can do. Back to the power of your protagonist. It will vary naturally because it's what's that image I saw? I'm gonna beam this image into your brain. I grab at the sides of my laptop. It's okay. So you know that image I just beamed in your brain? It's the one where I beamed a few. So here's the one I'm talking about. It's the one where it's like a shonen protagonist, some shit like that, like story writing, and it's like the series of spikes. It's a graph. It's like the series of. It's a line graph. It's a series of spikes. It's like character encounters enemy they cannot beat. They train, and that's the line going up. They beat the enemy, and then it moves over to the next point. Character encounters enemy they cannot beat. They train. It goes up. They get strong enough to beat the enemy, and it goes over. Character encounters an enemy they cannot beat. That will probably happen in LitRPGs, right? Because just, well, you can literally visually see what your character can do. So why wouldn't they do something like that, right? If you want to have like a, you're fucking losing my train of thought again. I ignore that's a bad example. Or don't ignore it if you thought it was cool and good. But if you thought it was bad and sucked, ignore it. Fucking what was I gonna say? Whatever. The main character's like power level is the issue of like the magic system. I really genuinely do not think like RPG systems one to one work. I'm going to be real. Much like with my Darkest Dungeon fanfiction, someone else is writing something, I didn't like it, and I got mad. So I thought to myself, I can do this, but fucking better. And so I started writing. Whether or not I do it better, shit, who knows? I think I do it better. Obviously, I write it. I'm very inflated ego of it by myself. No, I fucking don't. Jesus. Someone should take that from me and point at something in my room. You'll never know what it is. Um, I distracted myself. Right. I tried my hand at a little RPG once. I liked where I worked into it, but I wasn't really my heart wasn't in it, so it's somewhere in the back burner. I pick at it sometimes when I'm very bored. Um, so I took the general idea and I sheared off the bits I don't like. I sheared off more than I kept. The general gist of this, take it if you want. I'm not fucking copywriting this shit. It's probably never gonna post it anywhere. Take it if you want. Uh, the the is the lit RPG parts of the RPG parts of it are really just you're born with a class, which that's a whole like issue that you can tackle classism with that. Ooh, that's fun. That's a hot button issue. I'm no commie, but I sympathize a little bit. Not a tanky here. Uh, so you're born with like a class. Said class has a bunch of like subclasses. Not like subclass, right? Where like you know what it does, like Hexblade to Warlock. By the way, I'm on the side of I'm glad Hexblade is getting sacrificed to make a subclass where Hex is good. I'll I'll sacrifice 1,000 Hexblades where they focus on melee to get one good support utility option. It's for the best. Let's be real. Warlock of all classes did not need a martial focus subclass. Pelagia's swords for Bard should have been more like Blade Singer, and it should have been stylized after Blade Dancing. Anyway, you're born with a class. Said class has a bunch of little subclasses around it. It's more in the line of it borrows ideas from the main class, but has its own twist to it. So say you're a fighter, or the fighter equivalent. You're born with a propensity. That's not the word. You get what I'm trying to say. An affinity. That's it for melee. When you find a sword in your hand, you'll probably instinctively know some basic blocks and I'm peeking. Probably instinctively know some basic blocks and parries with thrust and stab combo. But you're not like a master. You may find it a bit easier to pick up said skills, but that's all you get. You get to learn spells if you want to. Put the effort into learning. You get to learn to be sneaky. You can train a bow just as well as anybody else. But if you're, say, a ranger, you're simply a little bit better, a little bit faster at learning a bow, which is still some classism issues, which I wanted to write about later. Um, but stats took those out. Health took that out. XP took that out. You're still like a normal person. So it's basically just a very, very, very applied magic system that also translates to martial ability. Because my main character had them be a brawler, which is just a barbarian, but not. They use their fists. Uh, I could explain it more, but honestly, I don't give a shit. I thought it was fun to write, though. So I do say this having tried my hand at it. Sure, you could argue, oh, it's not a lit RPG anymore. It's just something with a unique meta system that kind of fits in line with lit RPG. Maybe. Yeah, but fuck, it's a shit, really. And post it online nowhere. Um, take it if you want. Take like the general idea, because I hate. Um, I say this having playing D&D. I hate when classes, systems, and things restrict you wholesale from something. Unless it's just like a gun type in a game. Like Deep Rock Galactic, it's fine, I can just swap dwarves. Even though sometimes I do wish that the Scout's flare gun was on fucking everybody. But that's just when my flares are out. Anyway, takes a sip of water, this is almost finished, wow. What was I saying? Fuck was I saying? Let me just explain why I took them out then, that'll get my thoughts clear. I removed stats because I didn't like being able to see exactly how strong my character was. I would have preferred if I could just feel it out. Also, because I don't respect power scalers. I mean, it's fine if you do it as a hobby, but if you start, like, bitching and whinging about some obscure, like, reason X character could decimate another character in a fight with no differences, then, like, you need a new hobby. I didn't like being able to see the literal stats because that made me restrict myself heavily when I was having them improve. Because if I had that, and I knew I needed 40 strength for a weapon, I should have done that instead. Fucking. Because I still don't get it. Stats in like Elden Ring and other Souls-like games, their numbers you need to pump up are fucking ridiculous sometimes, and it makes it hard for me to understand exactly how strong my character is. Anyway, say if I know I need 40 strength for X weapon, I would just put 40 strength in, and then stop. I would hinder my own ability to grow if I had this literal ability, right? To just like change my fucking DNA on the fly. Pheromones they call it. Adam. Uh, it changes what God gave you. How the fuck did Atlas say? Whatever. Bioshock. Anyway, fuck this. Like I know. Oh, you need X dexterity to put on this bitchin' cloak. I would get X dexterity and put nothing in, and I would keep stacking con because I fucking love Constitution. Health, baby. Health maxing. Maybe put some intelligence too. Charisma has always been my dump stat in characters unless I need it for whatever I'm playing, like a warlock. That's a separate fucking thing. That's just why did I even say whatever? Um, I lost what I was saying again. Right. So that's why I didn't put in stats because that's how I think. So that's probably how I'd write the character, and I didn't think that's fun because that kind of restricts kind of characters I can write. Because you write what you know, even if you don't want to. I guess if is what I'm trying to get at here, and I didn't like the idea of my character just like does the minimum of shit and doesn't go. And I know I could have just made the character go above and beyond, but being able to easily see when you've reached your threshold and then saying I'll put in an extra 15 is still pretty lame, like conceptually. And I'm doing a poor job of explaining this, but I'm sure you get it. And then the reason why I took away health, I've mentioned it already. I hate the idea of I got slapped. X amount of joke slaps can kill me. Um, and also just like I like the idea. Oh, haha! I am vaguely hurt this much. Also, like the main character's whole ability revolved around getting hurt. Right? Well, hurting themselves, but that sounds bad. It's just like, oh, I do a headbutt, I hurt myself a little bit. That boosts this ability I have. Anyway, um, so it would have made more sense. You may be thinking, if your character is all about self-inflicted damage, Literally, why didn't you do that? That would have only helped you. Yeah, it would have only helped me. But then I'm restricted by it. Me when the DM tries to railroad me with poor excuses such as I hit above your AC so you take this much damage. Me simply not updating my character sheet's health. Um, it is restrictive, and restrictions can be good. I immediately thought of One Night at Flumpty's and why the dev didn't use certain colors during the creation to like expand the creativity of certain things, and then I immediately remembered he was a pedophile. Man, just like a bunch of creepypasta YouTubers. Ain't that a bitch? Why should I like full of pedophiles? Anyway, I should stop liking things. It is restrictive to have the health because now my character has a definite threshold. I'm sure I'm still in control. I can just have the knife stab do different and justify it with, oh, it's a glancing blow this time. I would rather not need to do that in the first place. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That is such a pretentious thing to say about a fucking lit RPG. Holy shit. Uh, if I find myself needing, like, I could have made it a crit, but I don't want to do that because crits, a mechanic where you have a crit is so bad for any fucking game. Like, luck maxing in Fallout is so ridiculously strong that if you don't do it, you're at a disadvantage. Fucking Vegas has this issue. That's why I hate playing Vegas. I like Vegas. I just hate that I need luck. Um, so if like I need for a scene to put in some cheap tension, some cheap melodrama, my main character to be on the verge of death, sure, I could have this knife stab be a crit. Sure, I could have this character use a mace. Clubs and maces don't get the respect they deserve in media. I could have this character use a mace and fucking dome him. But that's because their health is too high. And sure, I could have them lose their health throughout the combat. But because every other combat didn't end with them on the verge of death when they were worse, because that's how this works, it is linear. Well, it's exponential, but you only get better. It doesn't suddenly make sense for this fight to just take the wind out of their sails. So now I have to justify it. And by justifying it, it feels weaker in my head. So because I didn't want to run into that situation at all where I need to suddenly do a band-aid fix, I just didn't have health as a definite thing. Obviously, I still have X amount of health heal. I'm hurt X amount, but like not literally, right? So I lose an arm. It doesn't say how much health I lose, and but so I just thought about this in a little RPG. If you lose an arm, would that lower your max HP? And would, if so, are amputees just worse? Someone should take that. I and write something about that. Which I'm realizing now is just cyberpunk. I'm gonna go grab more water. My throat is fucking. To the relief of many, I forgot what I was saying. Uh, can someone remind me? I wouldn't be able to tell if someone. Okay. Uh, fuck. What was it? Something about health stats for your main characters having no context. No, that was prior. Stats for main characters have no context. I don't like that either. Um, let's. I'm forgetting things. It's late. I want to go to bed. So let's tackle the hot button issue finally. I don't think isekai is bad. I'm sure many people feel this way, and I'm not projecting at all. I don't think isekai is a bad thing. It's a dirty word, sure, because of a bunch of fucking. What is it? Shield Hero sucks. Konosuba, so yeah, Konosuba sucks. Alice in Wonderland doesn't make sense. Isekai just means in another world story or something like that, or so I've been told by some weebs. Weebs affectionate, not weebs derogatory. I say it both ways. I have the W pass. That sucks. Isekai is fine. I sincerely do believe that being transported to another world isn't bad as a plot hook or narrative device. It's a good way to have your typical fish out of water story without being contrived. And you get to do fun shit with it. If why did I remember reading this thing uh on HFY r/HFY humanity fuck yeah. I got my gripes with that thing too. Maybe I'll rant about that tomorrow in the very late night/morning. I guess it'd be early morning, late night. It was like that anime I've been told exists, Gate, where like a military guy goes to another world. And I immediately remembered there was like this furry woman in it. I forgot why I remember that. I dropped it pretty soon. It was boring as fuck. At least to me anyway. That wasn't a lit RPG, but it's an isekai. That's what I'm talking about. Cause like a culture difference thing, right? You have a completely alien culture you get to play around with. So like he defeated her in battle. He like stabbed her or something with a knife, cause soldiers have those. Don't fall for the propaganda, kids. Don't join the fucking army. So he stabbed her with a knife, cause soldiers have those. And she was like fucking. Well, she was gonna die, and then she didn't, or something. She got patched up. Because of that, she recognized him as her leader, and this sounds like a fetish thing, but she was married to another guy, another wolf guy. He's like a wolf hybrid, like anthro wolf, and he was like a house husband thing. I didn't really read too much of it. Maybe he got cucked. I don't know. It might have been a fetish thing. Uh, that is conceptually interesting, but it is still might makes right, which sucks, and it really feels like a fetish thing. Um, Put your fetishes in world building. I do. I have strong women there. That's all. That's literally it. They're just women who are strong. I don't like focus on it. Because that'd be weird. Looks at you. All of Drow lore. Wow, is it bad? What is like the Loth's priestesses? Some of their lore is fucked up. Like the maybe I shouldn't say it. Just look into it. It's bad. But out. I I can't use this as an example because I'm like fuck. That's a fetish. There's another one I was reading that I dropped because I stopped being interested. No, that's not true. Well, yes, I dropped it. No, it. What? Fuck. What am I thinking of? I'm realizing now I drop a lot of things very quickly because it doesn't hold my interest, or because it pisses me off. Um, whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. Of being transported to another world isn't inherently a bad thing for your story. It's not inherently a fucking boring ass lame shit to do. It can be fun. It can be unique. It can be the thing your story needs. It can it can be teenage wizard from another magical world winds up in boring ass fucking I don't know North Dakota or something has to go to regular high school. Shit, that's funny. Um, Probably wouldn't be very interesting though because it's fucking North Dakota. No offense, people in North Dakota. It's just like, what do you do up there? Okay, so I'm in this state. Yeah, what do you do up there? Anyway, oh, I got sudden shooting pains. I'm sorry, North Dakota. I'll never do it again. And it's gone. Okay. What the fuck? I'm haunted. Well, I already knew that. Um, it's not bad to have your characters be alien. Hell, all of sci-fi is that. They just don't put a focus on that. I don't like. No, I like sci-fi. I don't like future settings. I also don't like cyberpunk. Um, I'm losing my fucking shit. Fuck was I saying? I'm gonna fill the silence while I think. So, right, isekai isn't bad. I'm making a poor showing. I need to go to bed. Um, is- and genuinely it isn't, right? It's just your plot hook. It's just your narrative thrust you need. It's just blank thing. The issue is when you compound that with other things, and that nobody else makes isekai, and also that your main character is boring as fuck. What's the generic anime isekai harem weeb shit? They have like that shortcut black hair, and they have is their eye color all the same too? And they're like lanky as fuck. They have like no girlfriend, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? That hand isekai MC in your head should not go away, but don't fucking write it because everyone's sick of it. Unless you're 14-year-old boy in high school. Not in high school, 14-year-old fucking in middle school. Don't worry though, you'll grow out of it. Please grow out of it. Don't be that guy as an adult. Then you'd be like a Space Wolves player in Warhammer. I'm not a big Warhammer guy, I'm more of a Trench Crusade guy. I don't know if the thing I said was even true. Anyway, uh, it isn't wrong to have. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Yes. Um, it isn't wrong to like have your characters come from unique fucking places and have to deal with this new, interesting setting, because that's all of storytelling, pretty much. It's not an isekai, right? Because I know that much from the fucking Hobbit. But didn't Bilbo Baggins never leave his fucking home? Anywhere he goes, it might as well be an isekai. Shit he just doesn't know or understand. Bam, I'm in the thick of it. Everybody, you know that fucking song, man, that was something else. Thrust into like this awful situation, he must adapt. Interesting, right? We love that about stories. These unique situations with like interesting resolutions and solutions. So when you take someone who knows nothing about the current environment and put them into an environment where they must be forced to adapt by relying on, X amount of characters, does that not sound like an interesting story? You might say yes. If I say it's an isekai, you might then change your mind because of the stereotypes of isekai, which exist for a reason. However, John Brown Isekai was awesome for like the 7 chapters I read, then dropped because it was really slow paced and I was very, very, very fucking. My free time was eaten up by school at the time. I should get back into it, and then I'm not going to because I will forget by the time I wake up. Um, it's not bad, right? I've read some isekai shit. It's good, but you need to be original, like at all. I and you might be thinking, oh, it's have to do with LitRPGs. A lot of LitRPGs are fucking isekais. All right, get real. Let's. It all starts the same way. They got hit by the truck. Haha, they got hit by the truck. Now they're in a new place, and then they just lay it straight. And so I drop it 3 chapters in because it doesn't do anything, like at all. Also, have your main characters be a dwarf. I'm sure there's a lot more I could say. It's late. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna peek my mic again. What the fuck? It's late. I'm gonna go to bed. Mull over the things I said to you. Uh, it wasn't the best worded, but you get the sentiment. Dwarf Max, make them have beards. And please, for the love of God, if you're not going to stop writing lit RPGs, and I'm not going to tell anybody to stop writing the shit if they like it or like have fun reading. If you have fun reading it, first of all, how the fuck? Second of all, shit, dog. There's so much more to do. Go out there, read that shit. It's free. Unlike Royal Road and AO3 and shit. A lot of crossover fics now. I guess I'm not crossover. A lot of fics now. Where the main character has what are they called? Gamer powers. First of all, no words have been lamer outside of sorcery points, which is part of why I don't play sorcerer in D&D. But second of all, they're not that fun to read. To me, if you like them, shit, dog, go at it. Just get better taste later on. But that's all I can think of. Uh, be interesting, have fun reading and writing, have your dwarves, women, have beards, And let's have more dwarf content. I'm sick of seeing elves. Let's have more dwarves. Yeah. Rock and stone brothers and sisters and siblings of the forge. Get those fucking ores.